Thanks everybody again for joining us today. We will dive right into our slides here. My name is Emily Kaiser and I am the communications manager here at the Washtenaw County Road Commission. And we appreciate you joining us for this virtual construction information meeting about the bridge painting and rehabilitation work that we've got planned on the East Delhi Road and Maple, also known as Foster Road Bridge. So we're going to dive right in. I'm going to go over a few housekeeping items and then I will turn it over to our two presenters to talk about the work that we have planned, and then we will open it up to Q&A after that. And I will provide instructions as to how to do all of that. So first I want to introduce our two project managers on the line today. So we have Nate Murphy. He is a project manager and a bridge engineer here at the Road Commission. He is going to be your point of contact for today for the projects. You don't have to furiously write down his information right now. His contact info is here. We will share it a couple times throughout the presentation, and I'll also show where you can find his contact information on the project webpage. So we have Nate with us today. We also have Aaron Burkholt with us today. He's our senior project manager over design and construction. And again, his contact information is here too. So as I said, I've got a little bit of housekeeping and I'll go over that here quickly and then we'll get right into the project. So the meeting audio and video is being recorded and it'll be posted to the project webpage on wcroads.org in the next day or two. I have a link to that project page in the chat right now. And so you can check that out. I'll reshare that in the chat in a minute here. After the presentation, you'll be asked to virtually raise your hand during Q&A if you would like to ask a question. I'll provide instruction at that time on how to do that, either from your computer, the Zoom app, or your touch tone phone. The chat feature for this meeting is turned on. If you have a question during the presentation, feel free to ask it in chat and we will address it during the Q&A period. You can find the chat window at the bottom of your screen. All right. So we will dive right into the presentation. Go ahead, Nate.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nate Murphy. I will be the project manager for this project, and we're excited to begin this work to preserve these important bridges in our network. The project will be for both the East Delhi Road Bridge and the Maple Road, or Foster Road as it's commonly known, bridge. And next slide. These are both old bridges. We have the East Delhi that was constructed in 1900, and the Maple Foster Bridge was built in 1876. And coming with this age of a structure, there is a need for continual rehabilitation and maintenance on them to keep them in working order. These are unique to the area and very well known. I believe, it's just a nice landmark for both of these bridges. They are built in an era when the loads were not as high as they are now for trucks and travel across. So they are load rated and are limited to 20 tons for each bridge. Each bridge is fracture critical and are inspected yearly. That means that there's little to no redundancy in the structure, and so we keep a close eye on the structure for any deterioration that would cause a need for further load restrictions. And because of their size and the limitations that we have there, the work that we have planned will require a full closure. As I mentioned, the East Delhi was constructed in 1900 as a 109-foot span and with a out to out of 19 feet about. And the Maple Foster is a 150-foot span. It has a 16-foot width. And with that width restriction, the ability to do the work and maintain traffic is just not feasible. We will require to have these bridges both shut down in order to do the work that's necessary. Okay, next slide. The work plan for I'll first talk about the East Delhi Road Bridge. The work plan for that one is going to include a bridge cleaning, a power wash of the structure, and then we're going to be doing some partial painting, the cleaning and coating we call it. And we will be addressing primarily the beams underneath the structure. And there in the upper right, you can see a drawing of the area where those joints come together at the floor beams. And we'll be doing clean and coat 2 feet either side in each direction of that area. You can see it there as those joints come together. There's a lot of pieces and parts that we want to make sure do not deteriorate, as that is the main load carrying part of the bridge, members of the bridge. Floor beams support the deck that you would then drive on. So that connection is critical, and we're trying to keep those in excellent condition. So next slide. You can see in the next slide, this is up close on the right of that joint. You can see how the different pieces come together of steel with the floor beam. And we'll be doing 2 feet in each direction, both laterally and underneath. So that'll preserve that connection nicely. And another picture there on the left, I like having pictures that we can show you of the area that will be working. Next slide. Again, these are on the left. This is that floor beam that's supporting the deck that you drive on above it. This is looking from underneath the bridge up at those floor beams. Just another picture to show that. We'll be also taking and making some minor repairs to the guardrail on the picture on the right there. You can see there's some scuffs that are on the railing. We'll be addressing those as well. Next slide. The spot painting that we're calling it, those joints underneath and the railing will be done and will be matching the same color that we have on the bridge. We've done our best there. You can see our color swatch that we obtained from the contractor. And we've done our best to maintain the exact color. We will, with putting new paint on, it will be more shiny. It'll look new. It'll stand out a little bit, but that's just, with the sun fading the existing paint, it's just part of the territory, and we're doing it at the bridge. That's the number one desire that we want to do, is that the bridge is protected. So there will be areas that you'll notice that it might look a little shinier, but for the most part, I think it'll look very similar to the existing color. This bridge was last in 2008. So most of it is in pretty good shape. We just want to make sure that those critical areas are well maintained. Next slide. We are proposing a 2-week closure for this work, and we're beginning the work in early July. This is very much weather dependent. We had thought initially that it might have started earlier in the year, and having it starting in July actually will hopefully be a better weather for the work and have less weather-related delays. The work is scheduled for that estimated 2-week closure. This is dependent on the weather. As I mentioned, we have to have the humidity and the temperature at the right places for the painting work, and we just want to make sure that everything is done right. We're hopeful that there's not going to be any supply chain issues with the paint. The contractor did tell me that because of the colors that we have on these, they're not very common, and that he's hopeful and that there will be no delays because of any kind of supply issue. But that is still always a concern, and we're hoping that won't delay our work at all. And then we just want to mention at this point, during the work that we have planned, we don't have any structural steel repairs that has been slated to be done. But with anything as old as this structure, when we go to begin the work, there's always the possibility that something else will show up. It's hard to even work on your bathroom without going to Lowe's 4 times. So similar with this one, we don't anticipate it, but and we don't have it scheduled, but there is always that possibility that further repairs may be needed. Okay, next slide. Okay, so we just want to address why we need to have a full closure. As I mentioned at the beginning, you know, that the width is really the limiting factor on this one. We cannot get in and do the work with a 16-foot wide clear roadway and allow any kind of other traffic on the bridge. So this one, we will be painting below the deck primarily. And so the main enclosure will be underneath where you won't see it above, but it'll be down around the beams underneath. And it will be enclosed for the cleaning and coating for this work. And in doing that, it keeps a good control of what they're doing. It keeps the dust control down. It also, as they're adding the paint to the steel, that it is protected. Keeping it enclosed, it is a safety issue, and it makes it more an efficient way of getting the work done. And in tandem with that, because we have to put that work platform underneath, we will be limiting any river traffic underneath the bridge. At that time, there'll be a work platform suspended underneath, and that would eliminate the possibility of having any kind of river traffic under this one. Good thing is that we are anticipating this one to be only a 2-week closure. But as part of that closure, all vehicle, bike, pedestrian, and river traffic will be closed during the duration of the work. Next slide. The detour that we're posting will be the East Delhi Road. We'll go from there to Miller, to around to Wagner, and back onto Huron River Drive. So it's not that long of a detour, and that's the way that we will be signing it. If there's any confusion, please let me know. The next slide. We will be coordinating with all of the local area contacts that we need to in order to let them know about the work. We'll be letting emergency services know, schools in the area, the metro parks. Right adjacent to this is the Skips canoe livery. We will let them know about this and be coordinating with them. Trash pickup and mail service. So we'll be making sure that everyone's aware of what's coming and the duration of the closure. Okay, next slide. I'll now shift over to the Maple Foster Road Bridge. Next slide. This one is going to be a more extensive rehabilitation. We are planning a full repaint for the entire structure. We'll be doing some scour protection at the piers. We'll be doing some drainage improvements at the abutments to eliminate where there's washouts that are occurring. And we'll be replacing the guardrail to where it's been damaged. We'll be replacing that. The riprap on the southeast quadrant will also be added there as well in order to keep it from the vegetation down there. We're working to keep that cleaned up there. So as I mentioned earlier, this is a 150-foot span, and the width is 16 feet on this one. So again, this one will be a full closure, and this will be a full repaint of the entire structure. Next slide. So a couple pictures of the steel condition underneath here. These are, again, the floor beams on the Maple Road Bridge. You can see at that joint, it's starting to deteriorate. This paint it was last painted in 2003. And so we are going on here about 20 years. And with this kind of a structure, the paint must be maintained. So every 20 years, I would say this is going to continue and is necessary in order to keep it from further deterioration. Next slide. A couple other pictures of some of the steel members, again underneath and at the bottom cord at the abutment there. Just wanted to show you the condition of the existing steel, and that will all be fully repainted. Next slide. Again, this is one of the joints as you're looking down on the deck of that area of the existing paint. This will, all that steel will be repainted as well. Next slide. As I mentioned, the guardrail will be replaced. You can see that that part there, east quadrant, has been damaged, and we'll be working to replace that. In conjunction with that, we'll be toward getting the drainage to work more properly. So we'll be putting in concrete curb and gutter, and then some spillways to control the water and send it away from where the abutments are. It'll catch it. This is looking on the right picture there. That's looking north from the north abutment, and you can see the washout that has been occurring there. We'll be catching that water earlier up the hill a little bit beyond the end of the bridge there, and sending it toward the bank there so that it will not impact the abutment any further. The abutment is the substructure unit right there, the concrete that would be at the supporting the very end of the bridge, just for terminology's sake. Next slide. As I mentioned, this one will be a full enclosure. This is a picture on the right that shows just an example of one of the contractor will provide a full enclosure around it to protect the work and to keep it clean. They'll be, as I mentioned, repainting the entire bridge. Mentioned also the erosion control and drainage improvements. So that's what it'll look like during the work, just to give you an idea. And again, on this one as well, there will be a platform underneath the structure for them to work from, and all river will be closed to that in that area as well. Next slide. Again, we have to maintain the existing color. We will be taking all the existing paint off, but we'll be repainting it with the same color. It was repainted last in 2003, and prior to that, it was 1978. We're doing this, as I mentioned, to keep it in good condition and have no rust or deterioration occur. Our paint is the best defense against that, and we just want to keep it up and in good condition. Next slide. As I mentioned, with the East Delhi, this one will also begin in early July, and the contractor plans to start them concurrently. The closure for this bridge, however, will be a 12-week closure. The work is again dependent on the weather, and we're hopeful that the July weather will be more cooperative and dry and be within the range that we need for the work there. Next slide. I just want to reiterate here again, the existing bridge, we do not have any steel repairs planned for this one. We will be just doing the painting, but again, we just want you to be aware that the possibility for some repair could arise, and we want to just let you know that if that was to happen, that it may possibly cause further time to get the work done. As I think I've mentioned all of this, that there, with the enclosure, we will need to limit all traffic, and both on the bridge and underneath the bridge, to keep everything safe for the workers and for the pedestrians. And so just be aware of that. It will be closed for all traffic, both on the bridge and under the bridge during the entire work time period. Next slide. Our detour for this one is, we'll be going up here in River Drive to North Delhi Road, then over to West Joy, and then south on North Maple. So we'll be signing that as our detour. Next slide. And on this one, we will coordinate again for all of the area entities that we need to keep up on for the work. We will let them know emergency services, the schools, trash, mail, and for all those, we'll be keeping them abreast of where we are on the project and start dates, etc. For the work, we will have message boards out, and we will have an email advisory. Emily will cover that later as we end the presentation. She will explain how to get on that email list, and you can get the updates that would be posted for that. Next slide. I can't overstate this enough. Both bridges, the traffic on the bridge and under the bridge will be closed, and there will be no access for vehicular, pedestrian, or bike traffic at either location. So, and also the river traffic during the work. Okay, next slide. We'll be coordinating, with other projects that are going on. We are aware of the other projects that are in the area. I know the city of Ann Arbor is doing some work in the area as well, and we'll be letting them know about our project. But this map shown here is the work that will be going on this summer in the Scio Township. So we are aware of all of this, and we'll be coordinating that. Okay.
Thanks, Nate. I can take it from here. I'm going to do a quick just show of where people can find this information on our website, and then we will get right into question and answer. So let me switch my screen around here for a second. So we are, the Road Commission's website is wcroads.org. And if you go here, this is what the homepage looks like. And there's a lot of different information. Shameless plug. We try to put a lot of hopefully helpful information to you on the website. But what I want to spend some time on just to show you in this meeting is where you can find the project pages. So if you go up here to current projects, you can also scroll down and you can see our interactive map. It'll all take you to the same place, to this current projects map that we update. And so you can see we're doing a kickoff of the entire construction season, a virtual meeting like this, but talking about the entire season as a whole on May 9th. So you're welcome to join us if you want more information. But here is a list, a map of all the different major road projects that we have coming up this year. And so each of these blue road segments that you can see or red dots represent a different project. So if I click on one of these, it will take us to the project webpage for these projects. I'll put a link in the chat again to this direct page. But if you scroll down here, you can see some of the details. As we get closer to the actual start date of the closures, we will update this information. We also have Nate's contact information here. If you have specific questions for him that we don't get to in this meeting, or you have questions for him throughout the project, his contact information is right here. We also have links to the detour maps that we shared here. And this is where we'll put a link to the meeting recording that we're doing right now. And also for the slides that we're sharing, we'll share both of those right here in this helpful links area. If you're interested, you can click here to subscribe to receive project updates about this project. This will take you to our email sign up page where you can put your email address. If you want to receive road advisories related to other projects as well, you can receive just general road updates by whatever township you're interested in. So if you're only interested in Scio or only interested in Ann Arbor Township, you can subscribe just to those. And then if you keep scrolling, there's a list of the major, our biggest projects of the year that we're offering individual project updates for. So here you can subscribe to receive the project updates related to the projects we're discussing today. And then we will update and we'll send out an advisory. During construction itself, we will do one ahead of the actual closure. We'll do an advisory, and then we will also provide updates as to how the project is going to those who subscribe to receive those updates. So Nate and our team, we work together to get out pictures of what's going on and just kind of general status updates of where we're at within the project. So if you want to receive that, you can just subscribe to receive those right here on this project webpage. There's lots of other great information on our website if you're ever curious, and we'd love for you to check it out and see if it can help answer some of your questions. So with that, we will go back to the PowerPoint. 1 second here. Okay, and we will get into Q&A. Before I do that though, Aaron or Nate, is there anything else you guys want to mention before we get into Q&A?
Emily, I just would like to stress the fact or provide a little bit more background. I am more familiar with the Maple Road Bridge, commonly known as the Foster Bridge, because earlier in my career back in early 2000s, working here at the Road Commission, I worked on that project. And at that time, the Road Commission had engaged the community, including Barton Hills and neighbors in the area, both north and south of Maple Road. We had an opportunity at that time to invest federal funds to replace the Maple Road Bridge with a more modern structure, what would have been a 2-lane full load capacity bridge. And at that time, there was a collaboration between the Road Commission and the community. There was great feedback from the community at that time, and the decision was made at that point in time that we would not pursue the replacement of the Maple Road Bridge, that instead we would partner and invest money to rehabilitate that old truss bridge. And that work was performed in 2003. I was one of the Road Commission staff that was involved during that rehabilitation. And we had the bridge closed for approximately 5.5 months at that time. We started the project in mid-April, and we opened it back up in late September. Now, the scope of work with that undertaking in 2003 was more significant in scope than the work we're going to perform this year. But the reason I draw attention to that is the need to perform this type of work on these 2 bridges is unavoidable, and the closure to perform that work is also unavoidable. That is the nature of the community and the Road Commission continuing to maintain these type of bridges. More modern bridges that are constructed are 2-lane, at a minimum, they're 2-lane bridges, and oftentimes they're concrete structures. And certainly we understand that these are, you could say, landmark bridges in Washtenaw County. Certainly the community sees great value in maintaining these bridges. From a safety perspective, the Road Commission has to maintain these bridges to keep them in good working order. But again, it's unfortunately, it's unavoidable, the need to close these bridges to perform work such as this. Nate brought up earlier in his presentation that work was previously performed in 1978. So I worked on the project in 2003. The Road Commission undertook work in 1978, and we have evidence that there was work performed back in 1944 on Maple Road. So this is ongoing, it's necessary, and it will most assuredly occur again in another 15 or 20 years. There's going to be the need to continue to invest in these structures to maintain them in good working order. And while it certainly is understandable that the closure is frustrating and it causes motorists to have to use other roads, it just is necessary for us to do this work. So I just wanted to draw attention to that. So we appreciate everyone, their cooperation and their patience as we undertake the work. We are going to do our best working with our contractor to perform the work in a safe manner and to perform it in an efficient manner. But there are things that are beyond our control. Most notably, that would be the weather. And Nate pointed that out during his presentation, that cleaning and coating or painting a bridge is very much contingent on temperature and humidity if it's going to be done the correct way, if it's going to be done according to specifications. So we have to rely on the weather to provide good windows for us to perform the work. Again, we'll work with the contractor to try to perform that work as efficiently as we can. But whenever you work on a 100-year-old bridge, similar to performing work on a 100-year-old house, there can be the possibility of the unexpected arising. And should that happen, should we identify work that is beyond the scope of our work, we will determine if that work needs to be performed at this point in time. And again, we'll work with the contractor on that. So just some things I wanted to elaborate on, Emily. That's all I had. So if you want to go ahead and we can get into question and answer, that'd be great.
Sounds great. Thanks, Aaron. So if you're viewing the meeting, we'll move to question and answer period. So if you're viewing the meeting on your computer, you want to first make sure to click join audio if you're interested in making comment here or asking a question. You can then raise your hand by clicking the participants or the reactions button at the bottom of your screen, and then the raise hand button at the bottom right of your screen. If you dial into the meeting from your touch tone phone, you can raise your hand dialing *9. I will, as the meeting host, I will unmute participants with raised hands one at a time. I'll announce your username or the last 4 digits of your phone number when it is your turn to speak. We're happy to answer as many questions as possible, but please be respectful of each other's time. And if your question is already answered before you're called on, you could lower your hand by clicking the lower hand or dialing *9 again, and that will lower your hand. So with that, we've got a few hands raised and we've got a few questions in chat. So let's start with the first hand raised. Carolyn, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
We can. Go ahead with your question.
Very good. First of all, thank you very much, Road Commission, for all the work that you do. I mean, you guys have a Herculean task in Washtenaw County. So just, a resident appreciates what you do. I moved here in 2014 and I live near the Delhi Bridge. And I understand that when that bridge needed to go through a major rehab back in the mid 2000s, that a 2-lane concrete like the Mass Road was proposed, but due to a heavy resident participation and so on and so forth, it was quite an effort to actually recreate it back to the little iron bridge. So I just want to say, on behalf of the residents up around here, I'm sure that the maintaining of that bridge will not be looked askance upon at all, because it was quite the residential effort to get that going. So I thank you very much for your guys doing this and keeping these treasures, in good working condition for us. I did have a question about the Huron River project between Mast and Zeeb. I noticed, Emily, when you were going through the project list, when you were showing the website, there isn't a Q&A for that. What would be the best way to queue that?
Carolyn, are you talking about the section, the resurfacing section we've got here on this map?
Yeah, the red part, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a mill and overlay, so that we have different like tracked projects. So that one doesn't rise to the occasion of having a public meeting. If you've got questions though, we have and you click on that project page, the project manager for that project is listed and you can reach out to them. You can also just call our general number and we can get you connected, but that is a resurfacing. So that is just a mill and overlay project. It's not a road closure. It will be lane restrictions during that work. They're starting to actually doing some culvert replacements out there today ahead of that work. But yeah, the project manager's information is right there on that project page if you have specific questions about it.
That project manager also is the person to contact about the culvert closures as well?
Yes, yep.
Okay, very good. Okay, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Yep, thank you. All right. Let's see. I'm going to lower your hand, Carolyn. Okay, we've got a question in chat and then we'll go back to the raised hands. This comes from Eric. He has a few, so we'll do one at a time and go back to those with a raised hand. So Eric's first question is, as the designs are fracture critical bridges, how will you be inspecting areas of critical fasteners, bolts, pins, rivets that are not directly visible or are hidden by the joints/structure?
Yes, we do an annual inspection that will be done by our bridge inspectors. During the, I think that's more what your question is during the work, we will have an inspector on site, and for the ones that we can see, we will be inspecting those during the work as they're cleaned and coated you know, they'll have a work platform underneath there, and we'll be able to see more of the joints and inspect as we go.
And Nate, our annual inspections, those are visual inspections, right?
Yes, that's a visual inspection only.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So here we have Edward Hackett, excuse me, has his hand raised. Edward, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Thank you. And thanks for putting this together. I'm very happy to see the maintenance being done on these bridges. I live in the first house just north of the Maple Road Bridge. So this bridge is very much very close to us, and we love it very dearly. I'm pleased to see that you're doing some work. You mentioned doing some work on the drainage. You know, as you know, you resurfaced the road just north of the bridge. I think it was Halloween last year, right? And a whole bunch of gravel was put down, and I immediately thought that's going to wash away in the rain, and it did. And the road is crumbling already. The new road surface is crumbling already at the bend there. Is the drainage you're putting in extending a reasonable way up to stop this happening? I mean, the brand new road is literally crumbling from, you know, within months of it being put on there. So I just, you know, I want to make sure that that gets fixed.
Yeah, so the curb and gutter that we'll be putting in will extend up to where it starts to Y out, both for, you know, Maple goes to the west there. So it'll catch that drainage as the water hill, and, you know, direct it toward a spillway that will exit before we get to the abutments. So yes, it'll extend quite a bit back there.
Okay,
200
thanks, Nate.
feet.
Okay. So we've got another question in chat from Eric. So this one is, how will debris, paint, rust, dirt be prevented from falling in the river during these projects? I know I talked about the structure, Nate. You want to talk a little bit more about the enclosure?
Yes. So yes, during this work, they will have a full enclosure. They'll have that work platform underneath, and then they'll be draping the entire structure so that any kind of dust or, you know, when they clean the steel, that it will not go in the river. So yes, that is there for that purpose, but also for the work when they're putting the new paint on. It helps, you know, keep the work area clean and at the right temperature.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Lee Hartman. Lee, you're next up. You should be able to unmute yourself now.
Okay. If you can hear me, thanks.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Thanks for this, giving us this information. I wanted to reiterate Ed's suggestion about the importance of drainage. He did a wonderful job on the Maple Road, just above the bridge, but you know, then with the big rains and stuff, it's hard to keep all that gravel in place. I just wanted to briefly ask, do you think that if that early in the inspection, early in the process, that you might be able to, just as you're starting to clean or looking at it, that if there were parts that needed to be replaced, that you could start on that early in the process?
Okay, thanks for your question, Lee. So I assume, Nate, this is talking about those unexpected things we talked about with, you know, 100-year-old homes. I think the answer, and please go correct me if I'm wrong, would be as soon as we identify, we'll be trying to figure out if we identify, we'll be trying to figure out a solution. But go ahead,
Absolutely.
Nate.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, as we find new things, if there are new things, we would try to address them as soon as we could. You know, it is a complicated structure, so it's not something typical that you can find in a quick hurry, but we would do our best to keep it moving as best as possible.
Yeah, we would like to get this bridge reopened just as quickly as everybody else will. Absolutely. So, okay. And then we've got another, our last question from Eric in chat, and then we'll keep going back and forth. But his last question is, can you describe the clean/painting process a little bit more? Will be blasted to bare metal? Will the inspection be done before or after cleaning?
Yeah, so it will be blasted to, well, let's first talk for the Maple Foster. Yes, that entire structure will be cleaned. That means taken down to the bare metal and then primed and repainted. So, and for the East Delhi, it would be only for the areas where we're working, but yes, it would again go down to clean metal before they start repainting. And as it goes, you know, they'll be the inspector will be out there during the duration of the project, and we'll be keeping an eye on it for any kind of issue that would arise. But yes, it will be looked at even after it's cleaned, but it'll be an ongoing inspection, yes.
Okay, all right, so let's go back to the raised hand. So Linda B, it's your turn. You should be able to unmute yourself. Let's try again.
Unmute. Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, we
Okay.
can. Go ahead with your question.
Okay, well, first of all, I was very, very happy to hear from Mr. Burkholz, who went over the history of the bridge a little bit, and I am the president of the Board of Trustees of Barton Village, and we are extremely affected by this bridge closure, and I was interested in the history because I remember 2003 when that work was done. I was living here. There are a couple of questions that I want to ask, a couple of very specific, and then one that is a little more involved. Who is the contractor? Who's the contractor working on this project?
This is Civil Coatings and Construction of Indiana, but they are
Okay.
a MDOT certified contractor for the painting.
Okay, and what is this being financed in any way by Build Back Better or any of those, you know, what is the financing and what is, you know, what is the projected budget for this bridge or these bridges?
The total quote from the contractor is around $735,000 to do both of them. And this is funded our MTF money,
Okay.
which is a local money.
Okay, our last question was a little bit trickier. We in Barton Hills are very concerned that in the summertime particularly, a lot of people use Barton North or even Barton Shore as a shortcut, you know, to get around that side of town. And we don't have a real, you know, we have security, we put up cameras, and we have, you know, some security arrangements, but they're not real involved security arrangements like a police force. And I'm wondering if we are going to be able, if there would be some funding that we would be able to get, or if we could use some of our roads money that we don't use on spending on our roads because they're private roads. You know, the state monies, the gas monies that we have that we don't use because we have private roads, would we be able to use those to finance some sort of county police or something to give us more security in terms of people using our roads in the summertime as shortcuts? And I'm afraid that that will be happening.
And Nate, I'll speak to that. And Linda, I appreciate that you referenced my comments, kind of the history of the bridge, and that
Yeah.
you were there back in 2003 when we worked on it. Certainly we appreciated the partnership by Barton Hills at that time. And you referenced the money that Barton Hills receives as an incorporated community. You receive transportation funding that can't be used on your private roads.
Right. And we did
really
contribute, I don't mean to interrupt you, but we did contribute money to the Foster Street Bridge construction in 2003.
Right,
Yeah.
a significant amount.
Yeah.
That was in the realm of $225,000
Okay.
in transportation funding that was contributed back in 2003 towards that rehabilitation of the Maple Road Foster Bridge. So in regards to the traffic control for this closure, our intention is we're going to be setting up a barricade. So coming, you know, from the north, coming down Maple Road, we're going to set a barricade up at Maple and Lansdowne. And And we're also going to set a barricade up at Lansdowne and Country Club to try to convey to motorists that that's not a way to get through. Now, the reality is for motorists that are familiar with the area, they're going to know, hey, if I go around that barricade and I keep going, I know that I can drive through Barton
Yeah,
Hills.
yeah, they'll find the winding road. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So as far as like using the funding, using funding from Barton Hills to fund additional enforcement, I don't know, Linda. That'd be something where we would have to reach out to either Ann Arbor Township or reach out to the Washington County Sheriff's Office and inquire about that. You know, I don't know, and I'd say in general, with the enforcement that's available, it would be difficult for the sheriff's office to have more of a presence in this area as they're being spread thin as they try to cover the county. So it's an interesting question, Linda, but unfortunately, I don't have a ready answer. That's certainly something that I'd be happy to follow up and discuss with Ann Arbor Township and with the sheriff's office and see if there's some ability there. Again, I'll be honest, I don't even know as far as vehicles using Barton Hills to go from you know, Maple Road and Country Club Drive over to Whitmore Lake Road, but using those private roads, I don't know if that's illegal. That was something that Nate and I discussed earlier, and I apologize, I don't have a ready answer. I don't know if it's illegal for someone to drive through Barton Hills.
Well, you know, the country club has a lot of people, members who do not live in Barton Hills. So obviously there are people driving through, and we understand that. I mean, we anticipate that, particularly in the summer, and we understand that there are going to be people driving through who do not live in the village. But, you know, in the summer, we always notice that we have more traffic driving through. You know, that question of legal or illegal is a murky one, I guess I would say. I'm wondering, would you be willing to talk to the Ann Arbor Township or the Washington County Police on our behalf, or should I or one of us in the village do that? Number one. Number two, can we use this money that we used in 2003? Can we use that if we need to finance some extra security?
And yeah, and I'd be happy, Linda, to reach out to Ann Arbor Township and to the sheriff's office and at least prompt the conversation, you know.
Okay.
And it sounds like the immediate concern is the closure that's going to occur in July, that's going to start in July. But it sounds like there's more of a long-term concern that every summer there's additional traffic that's coming through Barton Hills.
Right.
So like I say, I'll be happy to at least start the conversation. I believe that you had emailed Nate previous. So we've got your email. And if you'd be willing, if you could go ahead and email Nate again and provide that contact information. That way I'll know how to circle back with you and further that conversation.
Oh, great. Okay. What's your email?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Linda,
but-
you can find Nate's email. We'll go back to that slide. You can email Nate.
Okay. Okay.
Here we go. Yep, his email address is right here. Okay.
I've got Murphy. I don't have his.
Nate, yeah, Nate, and you can email Nate and he'll get with Burke or with Aaron.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Linda.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda.
Okay, we've got a couple more questions in chat. We'll just keep going back and forth. So this question comes from Emily, not from me, but from a different Emily. Will the asphalt be redone from the bridge? I'm assuming she means the Maple Foster Bridge to Huron River Drive. The asphalt east of the bridge on Maple was redone last fall. So that was that resurfacing project that we did late last fall. I looked and I don't see any plans for resurfacing in that area, excuse me, this year. Aaron or Nate, do you have anything else to add there?
No.
Okay. Yeah, so resurfacing is a separate a separate conversation about how we are able to fund different resurfacing projects, I'd be happy to talk more about that. If you want to reach out or give me your contact information in chat, I'd be happy to have a longer conversation with you about how those types of projects are selected, if you're interested. All right, so now we'll go back to somebody with a raised hand. Looks like Paul L. Paul, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
We can. Go ahead with your question.
Great. Well, first of all, just want to tell the road commission that I support you in this, and it's really good that you're doing the maintenance on the bridges. I've been here for many years and supported the bridge rehab in 2003. And you've answered most of the questions I really had. The only one I wanted to get some more details on was the drainage. I agree, when they redid the paving just on the north side, in the last fall, it's really collapsed quickly, basically a brand new road and edges. So is the drainage going to be sort of rerouted, or how is it going to be handled? And once the bridge work is done, will the approaches be repaved?
So yes, we will be using curb and gutter that would collect the water. Currently we have, excuse me, we have just the asphalt roadway with gravel shoulders. And we will be saw cutting the edges of that asphalt and pouring concrete curb that will extend from the bridge going north a couple 100 feet in order to collect that water. So as the water comes down, instead of just going out and sheeting it across the shoulder, it will be channeled down in a curb. And then as it gets closer to the bridge, there'll be a spillway that will direct the water away from the bridge.
Okay, will that be basically ditching, or will there be culverts actually going all the way to the river?
It's not a culvert, actually. It's just a concrete spillway, which is just a paved slide. I don't know how else better
Yeah,
say
no,
it.
I understand. I get the spillway idea. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Okay, we'll go back to chat. We do want to clarify. So Nate was talking about how these projects are funded. They're also funded in part, not in just in part, but in part with the roads and non-motorized millage that was passed by and renewed by Washtenaw County voters in 2020. So that is one of the funding sources that we are very appreciative for voters having renewed that. And we do about $4 million worth of road work thanks to that millage. So each year. So that is, these projects are part of that total program. Another shameless plug for our website. You can see all of the millage projects right on our website. If you go under that road work and construction, you can learn all about road millages and what improvements that specific millage is funding, including helping to fund projects like this. So a chat question that we have, this is from Edward, and he says, I've observed standoffs between cars trying to cross the Maple Road Bridge, our lovely one lane bridge. Has there been a consideration for adding signage about taking turns or adding additional kind of signage to help with traffic flow on that bridge?
Yeah, and it's an interesting question. And one of the differences between these two truss bridges is, as is mentioned, the Maple Road Bridge does not have traffic signals, but the East Delhi Road Bridge does have traffic signals. Again, at the time that we performed the rehabilitation, the significant rehabilitation back in 2003, there was discussion, because of it being a one-lane truss bridge on Maple Road, would residents of the area be willing to take turns to cross that 150 feet to get from one side of the Huron River to the other? And certainly we could have some conversation about possibly there being some advisory sign that would notify people that there's the need to take turns. I guess to this point, we've taken it for granted that people would just common sense wise, that they would understand that, and they would be courteous to one another, and they would understand that it's necessary to take turns to get across a one-lane truss bridge. But again, it's something we can discuss and see if there's some type of an advisory sign that can be put up that clarifies that point to drivers, that they do need to take turns to get back and forth.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. All right, let's go to, this username is Mama K. Mama K, you should be able to unmute yourself. We should be able to hear you. Can you? I see that you're unmuted. You might have to turn the audio up on your own computer. We'll go to a chat question. We'll try again with Mama K in a second here. We'll go to chat and we'll give her a second to get her to try her tech. Edward also asked, is the asphalt on the bridge deck itself? Well, is the bridge deck on Maple Foster, is that being touched at all during this project?
No, that will remain.
Okay. All right. Let's try Mama K another time. You should be able to unmute yourself. We see that you unmuted, but we can't hear you if you're talking. Shoot. Well, if you want to ask your question in chat, I'd be happy to read it out, or I'll try again. We'll go back and forth and try again in a minute if you're able to speak with us. All right, so let's go to, this is Tyler. Tyler, you should be able to unmute yourself.
There we go. Can you hear me?
We can. Go ahead with your question.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Tyler Soja. I'm one of the owners of Skips Huron River Canoe Livery. So we're out of Delhi Metro Park there. We definitely completely understand and support the bridge maintenance and know it's definitely necessary at times. And basically, not so much a question, but just a recommendation potentially just about the dates. We know our summer peak months are Memorial Weekend to Labor Day weekend, and the river traffic and car traffic is incredible there, and it's just gotten busier and busier over the last 4 or 5 years. So doing it in the peak of July will affect a lot of traffic and issues as far as river and cars, and business wise it does hurt us a little bit, but we understand it and we know you guys have to do it at certain times of the year. I know painting for sure, it has to be the particular specific times and weather wise. We know Septembers have been awesome as well the last few years. We didn't know, we're just putting out recommendations, not so much a question, but if there's any chance of thinking about another date potentially with that Delhi Bridge there, if possible, but we completely understand. We just know it gets really busy, and that's a July, 4th of July weekend. Everyone likes to get outside and use those parks, and I know they see thousands and thousands of people recently. So that was all I had for you guys, but thank you for your time.
Thanks, Tyler.
Yeah, and Tyler, thank you. We appreciate you participating in the meeting today, and certainly it's something that we've discussed and tried in as much as we're able to be thoughtful about the Huron River traffic. And as you mentioned, with the proximity of Skips Canoe Livery to the East Delhi Road Bridge, it was something that we've discussed, and I appreciate you recognizing that with the cleaning and coating, we really need to try to take advantage of that summertime weather. That provides a better opportunity. We've had some really, as you mentioned, some beautiful weather in September, and so potentially we could do it then. But when we bid a project, we bid it with certain time constraints. And so as we tighten those time constraints on a contractor, generally the price will continue to go up. Because then what we're doing is we're dictating to the contractor, hey, you have to do this during a specific time. And so this project, we provided some flexibility in order to realize some better bid pricing on these two bridges, on these projects. We can discuss with the contractor if the work could possibly be done after Labor Day. But I would say there's a good likelihood that Civil Coatings and Construction, our contractor, is well booked for this season. There is such an immense amount of work to be done out there that we're seeing it in contractor schedules, and we're seeing it very much in their pricing. Contractors have so much work to perform with all the money that's coming into the system now, that again, we can discuss it with Civil Coatings and Construction, and we certainly recognize the need to be efficient in the work that's done. But unfortunately, we can't promise anything as far as shifting that schedule on East Delhi. But again, thank you for bringing up the point and attending the meeting.
Thanks, Aaron. Okay, so we had another question, and I think this is more just a comment, and there's a couple people that are saying this, where we were talking with Linda about cut through traffic into Barton Hills, and where you were talking about the barricade. We will have a barricade in advance of it, but we also, Lee points out that the residents of Daleview and Byington, they need to get into their homes. So the barricade will not be a full across the entire road like we showed in that picture. That will be closer to the bridge where it's fully closed, but he's absolutely right. We have to allow local traffic to get into their homes. No traffic will be allowed to cross that bridge itself. So that is the tricky part about barricades for road closures such as this.
And it is, Emily, no, and well stated that the challenge is we have to allow the barricades at the bridge. There will be a hard closure where no one will be able to get around the barricades, but advanced barricades such as those I had referenced are generally set off to the side and include a sign, something to the effect of local traffic only. So it allows thereby the residents that need to go around it to do so, but it also allows people that are looking to cut through to also drive around the barricade. So it is a challenge, and we deal with it yearly when we get into our construction season, trying to allow access for those that should have access, but keep out those that shouldn't. But again, with our advanced signage, we will certainly do the best to convey to the motorists that they should follow the detour, but unfortunately it can be difficult to enforce that.
Thanks, Aaron. All right, so we're gonna try again with Mama Kay. If not, she's asked her question in chat and I can ask it, but let's try if we can get her unmuted. You should be able to unmute yourself. Okay, we cannot hear you if you are talking. All right, well, I will go ahead and I will ask her question in chat. So she asked in chat, so, you know, talking of, let's see, her first question is just about general maintenance on Maple Road north of this area is important because it's often has in poor condition. And will that be kept up during this period of closure? You want to start with that one? Then there's a couple other questions.
Sure, Emily. And our intention, and it's a good point that, you know, traffic movements are going to change during the period where the Maple Road Bridge is closed. And so we certainly coordinate with our operations department as far as maintenance that needs to be performed on the unpaved roads in this area. And that'd be something that we'll continue to do is having upfront conversations with the operations department about, you know, where we see traffic being detoured to, and then seeing what the actual traffic patterns develop into as the bridge is closed.
Okay. Her second question is, will we be contacting both Scio and Ann Arbor Townships about emergency response and emergency vehicles? I know you mentioned that earlier, Nate, but absolutely we will be contacting and coordinating with them ahead of those closures. Yes, so that is a yes for sure.
Yes.
Anything else you want to add there, Nate or Aaron?
Nope, that's good.
Okay. Okay. All right. So I think we've gotten through almost all of our chat questions. We've got one more raised hand. Dan, you should be able to lower, or you should be able to unmute yourself.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, you are. Go ahead with your question.
All right. Hi, Aaron. How are you?
I'm good, Dan. I was wondering if that was you because it only says
it was me
on the screen.
And
but
I thought you had moved on to another state or something. The only two names I recognize so far are Paul Levinsky and yourself. So now I'm here.
We've been around a while, Dan.
Yeah. I knocked on all the doors when I got a note that they were going to take the bridge out. I don't know, it was 2019 or 2099. What am I trying to say? 1 year between, at any rate. And then, you know, we had a meeting at Scio Township and got $80,000. That was pretty good for a public meeting. And Barton Hills contributed about 2.5. And I think there was some state funds. The bridge repair was nowhere near as elaborate as Delhi Park. but it's held up. And we sent out, I'm not on the picture thing. How do I get on that? Well, anyhow, we sent out samples of that wrought iron. There was a fellow from New York, and we took samples of the original bridge material, and they indicated it would be good for another 1,000 years because of what it was. I'm no engineer, but at any rate, we raised quite a bit of money. And to the point about whether you need traffic controls on the bridge, you run into the problem of sign clutter after a while. You know, nobody sees anything. And it's an enforced civility, and it works pretty well. People know that they can't get across till somebody gets out of the way. And I think the last thing we need are probably traffic signals. The other thing, on the south side of that bridge, you can't really put a traffic light because they won't stop coming across. And there's 18 railroad trains a day traveling anywhere from 40 miles an hour to about 80. And every now and then they do get hit there. I can see the bridge from where I'm talking to you. So the only other thing, we gave them some color specifications, and they did not paint it the color we wanted. And when I talked to Nate Murphy, was it the other day? Somebody, at any rate, they said they were just going to do some spot repair. I think he thought I was talking about Delhi. Since you're going to paint it all, could we get it either the lovely orange or the actual sort of railroad livery, almost a black green for the paint?
Yeah, and no, it's a fair question, Dan. And certainly, as you mentioned, you know, the points that you've covered, there was a tremendous collaboration between the Road Commission and Barton Hills and the community back in 2003 when we undertook this project. Before I forget, Dan, I will mention the bridge portal signs that are up on the bridge. Nate and I have discussed that those were fabricated back in 2003 to match, in as much as we could match what we believed to be the portal signs that were on the bridge when it was constructed. Because at the time that we did the rehabilitation, the sign was completely missing at one end, and there was only a partial part of the sign at the other end. So we had those fabricated, and then Dan, you were kind enough to have your shop paint those signs. So
I also had them fabricated.
Oh, did you have them fabricated? See, I had forgotten
that
part.
Pigwell, Ohio, at a foundry down there, and ultimately, way east in Ohio, we found a complete one on another bridge. And we had a chunk of the other, and we just extrapolated on a computer what they said, and they made the pattern. And for the record, I have one in my yard I paid for.
We did advise the current contractor that they needed to be mindful of those portal signs. Because
if they're going to take them off while they do that, I'll paint them again.
Oh, okay, Dan. All right.
Yeah.
Well, no, we appreciate that.
No problem.
So, yeah, Nate will definitely make note of that. As far as us changing the color of the bridge, we could change it at this point. I would be reluctant to change it like to any significant degree, like to go from right now, it's kind of a dark green color to go from that dark, to go from that dark green to like an orange. I don't know. I'd be concerned, Dan, that while you and I might agree that that's a great thing and that we dig the color of the East Delhi Road Bridge, that there might be other people that say, no, why did you do that? We liked it the other color. But certainly it's something Nate and I
don't really care anymore. I did at the time. I said, you guys got the wrong color here, you know. But it was at 2003, everything was done. We actually started in 2001, and then an event that interrupted was 9/11, 2000, and everything stopped for a year, you know. And then we got busy and it all happened. So, and I don't know where my photo is, but the bridge people gave us all little chunks of some of the iron they took out to sample, painted up in commemoration of the Maple Foster Road Bridge, built circa 1876, rehabilitation project, blah, 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 you know. I have one of those, proud of it.
As am I, Dan. I've got one as well. So
okay, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
the color looks quite nice on that.
Again, Dan, appreciate you participating. We appreciate everyone's participation in the meeting.
It was a nice community effort.
Yeah. In particular, Dan, it's good to hear from you. And Nate and I will discuss when we have civil coatings and construction. take those portal signs down. We'll take a look at them, and if it looks like they need a new coat of paint, certainly I will reach out to you. I don't know that I've still got your number, Dan. So if you could shoot Nate an email with your phone number, I sure would appreciate it.
Sure, no problem. Like I say, I could look out the window that I'm looking out of right now and see the bridge. So it's more of my life than I ever wanted. Good to see
Thanks,
you.
Dan.
Thanks, Dan. Okay, I think we have gotten through all the raised hands. So last call for raised hands. If you'd like to make a comment or ask a question, you could do that by clicking the participants or reactions button at the bottom of your screen and then the raised hand button. If you are dialed into the meeting from your touchtone phone, you can raise your hand by dialing *9. We do have a question, more of a comment. This is from Tim, who he is in favor of additional signage. I know Dan was just talking about not signage, and that's kind of a good example of the balance that we try to strike here at the Road Commission, that too much signage is not necessarily an answer to some of the woes we see. So we will definitely consider that and talk with our sign team on that. We've got, compliment from Carolyn for Nate for being so responsive so far in her questions. So we appreciate that. If you guys do have questions, we can, after this meeting, we can give you back to Nate's contact information. Again, it is available on the website, and we'd encourage you to sign up for those email project updates, and we can provide you more info as we get closer to the actual closure. But with that, I think we've gotten through all the questions in chat, all the raised hands. Nate and Aaron, is there anything you guys would like to add as I do one more perusal of chat?
Nope, I don't have anything additional.
Yeah, and I don't either, Emily. Again, appreciate everybody taking the time today to participate in the meeting. And please, as Emily said, should you have any further questions or comments, please reach out to Nate, and we will certainly look forward to undertaking both of these projects a little bit later this year.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. Yeah, thanks everybody for coming. We'll provide email notification and signage as we get closer to the closure, but we appreciate your participation today. Have a great afternoon.